Hey everybody, welcome to day two of the Appsmith BUILD event. Today is going to be mostly about devs and tech stuff. We've got the DevRel team here today. I'm joined with Joseph Petty, Kevin Blanco, Mr. White himself, and we're really excited to show you some of the cool stuff we have. But before we jump into it, we kind of tell you what we're all going to do. We do have a special message from one of our friends, our good buddy Wisdom, who was kind enough to make us a nice, funny little intro to kick off the day. So let's take a look at that real quick.
Sprint planning is done. We need to build these 5 complex workflows and a dashboard that reports everything.
But how
We also need to prevent incidents.
are we going to build this in just 2 weeks?
Easy with Appsmith. It's an open source tool where you can connect to any database or REST API and drag and drop widgets to build UI. But the best thing, they're workflows. Those visual builders can be so hard to learn and complex to maintain, and so many options are missing. Appsmith workflows allow you to use pre-made actions when needed and add code when you need flexibility.
Devs love that, especially when they need to maintain it.
Finally, a tool like this, and wow, will be really done in 2 weeks. I told you so, link in bio.
That was cool, man.
Yeah. And so anybody who wants to see a good deep view and kind of what's coming up with workflows, our chief product officer Nikhil actually did a demo yesterday and kind of showed off what's coming. So take a look at that. There's also a beta coming out if anybody wants to play with it. But let's talk about today. Okay, so today we've got a couple of cool things we're doing. We're going to talk about AI first. Then we're going to dig into some specific use cases we see a lot, which is connecting to large Salesforce applications and how you can use that data. That's going to be pretty interesting. We've got a session that's going to talk a little bit about reusability in Appsmith and what's there today, what's coming, and I can pretty much guarantee there's going to be some stuff there you didn't know. And then we're going to close out with a deep dive into file management in different services and how you can integrate managing files into your applications, which provides a ton of value for everybody. So, Kev, I think your session is first on AI. Can you let us know what you got going on?
Yeah, sure. Before we do that, I was actually pulling some messages from people saying hello on the chat, and I'd love everyone who's joining to let us know where are you tuning in from. To be honest, guys, Joseph, Ron, it's always cool to see the internationality of Appsmith, if that's a word. It's so cool to see people connecting from multiple countries and understanding how solving enterprise problems is an universal language. So it's cool to have a lot of people joining. So yeah, let us know in the chat where are you tuning, and we'll be featuring your message and your thoughts on the different things we're gonna be talking today. And actually, guys, I have something to tell you which probably resonates with a lot of the people who are joining today.
Hey everyone, Kevin here, and I get it. By now you are probably sick and tired of hearing this word. AI.
Generative AI, generative AI.
But get ready, because we are going to get rid of the hype of AI and actually put it down to business on how we can implement artificial intelligence into building smarter business applications today using Appsmith AI.
I'd like you to imagine being able to automate a big portion of your company's day-to-day tasks, streamline data analysis, and enhance decision-making processes with just a few clicks. That will be awesome, right? But for most of the companies, making this happen requires a lot of effort, time, and eventually money. What if I told you that integrating AI into your business applications could save countless hours and dramatically improve efficiency? It sounds too good to be true, but with Appsmith, the best low-code enterprise open source platform, this is now a reality. You might be wondering, where would I use these AI features or under what circumstances? In virtually any internal business applications, from customer service to data analysis, automation, and beyond. Whenever you need to improve processes, require minor efforts, or do something to speed up decision making or go to market without sacrificing controlling quality, that's where AI is going to help you. It's likely that right now you go throughout a lot of manual efforts, time-consuming processes without the aid of advanced AI capabilities. These AI features will save you time by automating repetitive tasks and improving intelligent assistance. They will reduce errors by leveraging machine learning modules for accurate prediction and analysis. And they will improve your effectiveness by providing valuable insights and supporting better decision making. Ultimately, these AI features will make your life easier by taking care of heavy lifting, allowing you to focus on more strategic and high-impact tasks. So today's sessions are, first of all, integrating OpenAI so you can enhance your applications with advanced language models, leveraging Google Gemini so you can unlock the power of conversational AI, harness Anthropic Claude so you can benefit from cutting-edge AI capabilities, and more importantly, unleash Appsmith AI so you can streamline text generation, classification, image analysis, and much more. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here I am at Appsmith and I'm going to start with a blank application. There's nothing in this application, and actually we're going to tackle OpenAI, Google Gemini, and Anthropic on this sample application, and then we'll jump to Appsmith AI. Integrating these services are extremely simple. Once you are in your Appsmith app, go to the data section on the left, and then you will see how to bring your data. Click on the button and there you will see all of the different options that we support for multiple data sources like databases, APIs, services, and so much more. At the very end of the page, you will see the AI integrations. There we have Anthropic, Appsmith AI, Google Gemini or Google AI, and OpenAI. Let's start with OpenAI. Once you select it, you will be prompted with the API key. You can get your API key directly from the platform.openai.com, and there you will get your API key. Once you have your API key, you will paste it in this field right here, test the configuration to make sure it works, and you will give it a name. In this case, I'm going to call it OpenAI and save this data source. Now, once we do that, we can start working on the editor creating a query for this specific data source. So we'll create a new query, select OpenAI, and here we have some different settings that we have to set up for this query. The first thing is going to be the name. I'm going to call it OpenAI Expert. And here you can define which command you want to use. It's going to be chat for a conversational type of OpenAI assistance, embeddings, and vision. For now, we'll use chat to keep it simple, but in our YouTube channel, you will see some other options regarding the other commands. Then the model, depending on your account and the API key level, you might have ChatGPT 3.5 or even ChatGPT 4 and some others, again, depending on your API secret access. For now, I'm just going to pick GPT 3.5 Turbo. Then the maximum number of tokens to generate in the chat competition, I'm going to keep it to 256. And then you have the messages here where you're going to send the messages to OpenAI. Depending on the type of conversation you set up, you might need to send back the entire conversation for context. And you can do that by sending multiple messages, by adding multiple messages in here. Or you can use JavaScript and just pass an array of messages, being role user or system, and the actual content on the conversation. And that way you can pass along context to your OpenAI chat so it understands what you're talking about. But for now, we're not going to use the JavaScript toggle. Actually, let me delete this and just use the standard support messages here. And for the message, I'm going to be just pasting something hard-coded for now, telling you're a marketing expert and you're given the following question, and then I'm going to be passing the question. For now, it's hard-coded so we can test it out. And last but not least, the temperature, where between 0 and 2 higher values will make the output more random, and lower values will make it more focused and deterministic. I'm going to keep it to 0 because I want it to be really focused and deterministic. And once you run it, you will see the response for this specific query. There you go. We have some information. Let me make this bigger. And then you're going to get an array of choices. And inside that array of choices, you will have a set of messages and the content. This is the actual response from ChatGPT 3.5 using OpenAI. So there you go. That was extremely simple, right? We'll integrate this into the UI in just a few minutes, but let's give it a shot to other services we support. Let's go back to the data section and actually integrate a new system. And this is going to be Google Gemini, or what we used to be called OpenAI. Again, you can get the API secret from what you used to call the Merker Suite, but now the name is aistudio.google.com, and there you will create a new API key with your Google account, and you will copy that, put it here in the API key field. Again, test the configuration, put in a name, and save it. I'm going to call it Gemini and save. And now let's do the same. Let's actually create a new query against the Gemini that we just created, and we're going to ask pretty much the same. The command right now only available is generate content, and in my case, since my account have access to the Gemini Pro model, I will choose Gemini Pro, but if not, you will probably see just Gemini. And the structure is pretty much the same. You will just pass an array of messages using JavaScript or just add messages manually. You have the role user, type text, the only thing we support right now, and then the actual content. Again, I'm going to ask for the same. You are a marketing expert and you're given the following question, and let's run it. And again, this is going to go to Google Gemini, ask for the question, and retrieve an answer for us. The structure might be a bit different from the OpenAI, so make sure to always check the structure of the response whenever you need to bind this to a specific UI element. In this case, we have a candidates array, and then you have the content and then some parts. And as you can see, here is the response. This is what we can then print out into the UI, and then you can see other information about why it is stopped, what type of category the conversation had, if it was explicit, or what type of harassment had, or speech, etc. All of this metadata is really important and can be used for different type of systems. For example, if you're using data warehousing or things like that. But there you go. We have Gemini working. Let's give it a name. I'm going to call it Gemini Expert. And now, last but not least, let's do the same with Anthropics. And Anthropic model is called Claude. So let's click on that specific option, and then we're going to grab the API key. That API key we can grab from console.anthropic.com. Again, logging in with your Anthropic account, you will get your API key, copy it, and put it here in Appsmith. As usual, test the configuration to make sure everything works as expected. And let's give it a name. I'm going to call it Anthropic. Actually, I'm going to call it Claude. And save. And now let's do the same. Let's create a new query against the Claude data source we just created. This one, we're going to call it Claude Expert. Command is going to be chat, the type of model. I have access to Claude 2 and 2.1. Claude 3 is now available, but in my account, my API key doesn't have access to that model. Then we define the maximum number of tokens. I'm going to keep it to 256, but you can increase it to get a longer chat completion. And the same messages, you can send them manually or just pass an array of conversations in the form of messages. But I'm going to ask the same question that we have been asking. Temperature, I'm going to actually put it to 0, so it is more analytical and not so creative. Actually, let's put it to 0.5 because we're asking question about marketing. And there you go. Now we have an answer. Again, make sure to take a look at the structure of the response. In this case, is more plain. It's more just in the JavaScript, JSON object, and there's the answer from Claude. So how do we integrate this into the UI? Actually, I have a sample UI ready for you so we can start binding and showcasing this information and integrating with labels and buttons, etc. In this UI that I have here is super simple. All I have is a title, ask the marketing experts, and input text with the name question, and then 3 containers. One is going to be for the answer from OpenAI, the other one from Google Gemini, and the other one from Anthropic. And here I have 3 text fields. One is for OpenAI with the name OpenAI, the other one Gemini, and the other one Cloud. And all of these are actually pulling the data from the response. Remember, for the OpenAI, we named it OpenAI Expert, and it's accessing the response structure to actually read just the final message, which is the content. Remember that each of the different queries have different response structures. Well, you have to make sure that you read the data depending on the structure of the response. For OpenAI is that data, that choices, which is an array, that message, that content. For Gemini is Gemini, the name of the query, which is Gemini Expert, that data, that candidates, which is an array, that content, that parse, that text. But again, you can see that in the query response when you run it. So it's very easy to understand. And also you can use the Appsmith auto completion, which is an amazing tool. So I'm just reading the answers from the 3 different providers, and the idea of this app is that I'm going to be asking a question and getting answers from the 3 different providers so I can compare and use the one that I want to use. Now, how do I execute the 3 queries all at once? Very simple. We can create multiple chain events here. For example, executing all of the queries. First of all, the OpenAI, then the Gemini, then the Cloud. But actually, let's make something even simpler. Let's create a new JavaScript object. And in this JavaScript object, all I'm going to do is just have a very simple function called askTheExpert. And I'm going to call OpenAI by executing OpenAI expert.run. This is the name of the query. The same with Gemini. Remember, we called it Gemini expert.run and Cloud expert.run. Now, the last thing we got to do is change the structure of these queries so it reads the data from the question that the people are going to ask. So all we have to do is go back to the queries, in this case, OpenAI query, and make sure that on the content, actually remove the hard-coded value and bind it to the UI question. Remember that the name of that field is question. All we have to do is find question.text. So we're going to be telling you are a marketing expert and you're given the following question, and then the question that people are going to ask in the UI. Same with Gemini, we're going to be changing the content so it's binding from question.text, and the same with Cloud. Question.text. And now go to the onClick and just find the function we just created. Remember the name, ask the expert. There you go. Now we deploy. And once we deploy, we can ask our questions. In this case, the same question that I was asking hard-coded. And then when you click ask the expert, what's going to happen is this is going to trigger. There you go. When you click the ask the expert, it's going to happen is going to trigger the request to each of the services, which reads the question from this field here and is going to give us the response from the specific question we're asking. And as you can see, the answers are very different between each provider. OpenAI gives me more like a bullet list of ideas for my next product launch. Google Gemini gives me something very interesting. Again, it's inviting to do an influencer outreach. In this one is making community engagement, which I don't see that as an option or as a recommendation with OpenAI. Launch day promotion, post-launch production, pre-launch production. That's good. It's giving me some advices on how to do measurement and optimization and additional tips. Looks like the Gemini one is more complete. And Anthropic is giving me a set of good advices. But there you go. That's how easy you can integrate OpenAI, Google Gemini, and Anthropic Cloud into your systems. But if you're looking for something even simpler without to handle API keys, secrets, or worrying about your services, you can use Appsmith AI, which is a complete managed service that we'll explore right now. Now, let's think about a more oriented business use case. Being able to integrate OpenAI or Google Gemini for generating text is great, but this won't be the case for most enterprises, which will have their own standard operating procedures, their own custom ways to extract and manipulate data, and probably require large language models to be trained against these requirements. So let's review how Appsmith AI can facilitate this by providing a managed service with a lot of customization. First, let's review this application, which is a very standard tool that manages loan requests. This application has multiple information about each of the loan requests. The lending company spends a lot of time and manual processes analyzing each of the requests for basic information about the credit score, the DTI, income details, and finance analysis. What if we could speed up this process by having AI to analyze each request and give recommendations based on the standard operating procedure given by your company? Well, we can easily do that. First of all, here we have the document, which has information about how do we control the pre-qualification process internally in the company, the loan application procedure, the application processing procedure, how is the underwriting happening, the credit decision, quality check, loan funding, and so much more. Basically, this document dictates how to analyze each of the requests and analyze if that person actually can be approved to receive that loan or not. So we can make Appsmith AI to analyze all this information and use it as a context, being trained on this data to actually give answers to real business use cases. So let's actually look at the application. The first thing is if we go to data and we create a new data source, you will find the Appsmith AI data source. And it's not required, but when you create a new Appsmith data source, you can upload multiple files. That will be the documents which Appsmith AI will be training your custom module to then being able to answer or analyze and give labels and information or what have you related to the information you have trained your model. So let's upload the file and find our standard operating procedure document, and that's it. As you can see now, we can just save our data source and we'll be able to start creating queries to Appsmith AI against this specific document. So if we go back to our editor, I already have this data source created, so that's why I'm not going to create a new one. We will see information about each of the applicants. And as you can see, when we click, we see some information about who the applicant is, the application ID, the status, the DTA ratio, the credit score, and more information about the person applying for the loan. And then AI is going to create a recommendation based upon the information we got from the person who's applying for the loan and the SOP document. Automatically is going to give us a recommendation, and for this particular case is telling us we recommend you to reject, and here is the reason. While the credit score of 680 falls into the fair category, which is below the minimum requirement for approval set for 6090, then the debt income ratio is 0.45, which is above the acceptable range of 30% to 43%, which indicates a higher financial burden and might lead to rejection. And Appsmith AI will give more information about why it's recommending to reject this application. Now, obviously, the person reviewing it will make sure that the recommendation makes sense, but this by itself is speeding up the application process by far. So now when we deploy this, we'll be able to see how it works. But before we do that, let me take you to the query so you can see how this is. Once you are in the query section, you can create a new query and select the data source that you have trained with the document that you created. Now I already have that created, and you can see that here is the loan decision Appsmith AI, and it's going to be using the generate text action, and the prompt is going to be you're a helpful assistant who can help with loan agents and loan approvals. And as you can see, we are passing information about the loan details, and we are getting that from the table of the request. We're passing the selected row on the table, credit score, the DTA ratio, the income, the loan purpose, and the requested amount. And with that, we're going to be also be passing the context from the files we uploaded. And as you can see here, we will have a drop down with all of the files we have trained Appsmith AI about our information. So here we can select multiple files, but in this case, we just have one, which is the SOP document. And then when we trigger this loan decision, Appsmith AI is going to analyze the request using the document pre-trained that we uploaded to give the final answer. Now, this is amazing. And all we have to do is with a very simple JavaScript function, which is going to be calling all of the loans that we have from our database that's completely outside of Appsmith AI. It's just a database pulling the requests. And then the loan decision we're going to be running is going to analyze all the requests from the table and give a Appsmith AI recommendation. So that's why when we deploy this app, automatically, when we click on any of the requests on the table on the left, Appsmith AI is going to be triggered and is going to give a recommendation based upon this applicant. So for this one, John Doe, the loan amount request, the DTA ratio, and everything that we see is recommending that we approved it. But if we see other one, maybe we will see a very different purpose. It's also taking into account the type of loan purpose. It's not the same analyzing a car purchase to a home or a house loan. So all of that Appsmith AI is analyzing against the document we uploaded and the request we're making. And for this particular case, it's saying you should reject it because all of these reasons. So here we see an actual business-oriented Appsmith AI use case, speeding up the go-to-market time efficiency of your teams. So that's one example that I wanted to show you. Another one is about image extraction. Now, let me explain this to you because this is super powerful and it takes just a couple of queries in Appsmith AI. What if you could extract data from images and inject that information into your forms, tables, databases, data warehousing, etc.? For example, this could speed up a request loan like the one we just have in our database. Just having the formulary in a picture, we can extract all the information from there and actually create a new request loan without having to manipulate all the data manually. So in this case, what I have is just an image picker. I'm going to select an image, and in this image, what I have is a driver license. This driver license has information about me, and maybe I'm making a request about maybe a car loan or something like that. Once I upload my image, I can ask what type of entities I want to extract for this image. So I can ask, for example, the name, date of the birth, gender, license number, height, and whatever other information, for example, the eye colors, institute, what have you. And then after that happens, I can also give some additional information. For example, I want the date to be in certain format, or the name to be camel case, or whatever other instructions we want to give. And then when we click extract, Appsmith AI is going to kick in using the image classification and image analysis service, which you don't need to train or anything. It's going to automatically use the entities you want to extract and give us a response. And here down below, we have the response. You can see that it's abstracted, that the name is Alicia James, the date of birth is this one right here, the gender, the license number, and the height. And if we go back to the image, we will see that actually that information is correct. I could also edit to maybe get an address and run it again. And it should be getting this address, which is here in Paris. Let's see if it actually works. And there you go. You got the address correct from the driver license. So the way you can do this is very simple. All you need is a query against Appsmith AI. And obviously, you don't need a file to be uploaded to be trained. This model is already pre-trained. And what we're doing here is using the extract entities from image action. And you're passing as an input the file picker. So once we upload a file to Appsmith using the file picker, Appsmith AI is going to transform that to base 64, and that's going to be the parameter to Appsmith AI. And then we pass the input text, the input one text, which is the actual labels we're trying to extract from the image, and also some additional instructions. And by that, you have a query ready to analyze images and extract all the information that you want with minimal effort. So by that, We get to an end in terms of Appsmith AI. Today you have seen how you can easily use OpenAI, Google Gemini, Cloud Anthropic, and the most powerful enterprise artificial intelligence tool in the market that you can start using for free today in any of the Appsmith editions. I hope you enjoyed everything we have taught you today. You are ready to embark on implementing AI in any of your Appsmith applications.
Nice. Yeah, that was great, Kevin. The last thing at the end there, the optical character recognition. I remember when that stuff first came out, and it was cool, but you had to map everything. Like you had to have a background and know that this was going to be here. This is where you should look, you know. And the fact that like combining that with AI and then it doesn't care where everything's at. It's just going to find it. That's really awesome that it puts it into the table. And but honestly, the whole time, all I was thinking of was your intro with the AI thing. Serious, man. So, like, how many places did you go? You were carrying that sign around for like a week to prep for this.
Yeah, I actually told my wife, let's go around the town and start taking pictures with the sign. It was kind of awkward because all the people were staring at me like, what the heck's that thing? And they were starting to ask. And actually, I had some conversations about Appsmith with some people. But yeah, I wanted to do something different because I know, I mean, everybody's just kind of tired about hearing AI. And I abstract the AI portion from that conference, and it's just insane how much times we kind of say AI.
Did
But
you
it's
use
true.
AI to get all the clips of them saying AI?
No, I actually
Like
did
the
it manually,
timestamp?
and
Oh
and and I had it even longer, but I reduced it so we don't spend too much time on that. But
yeah.
yeah, it's insane.
That's cool.
That's awesome. That's
Awesome.
great.
Ron, what is that shirt you got there?
Oh well, this is a prototype of some of the new swag we have.
Nice.
We've got some new designs that are coming out, and we're gonna have a bunch of new shirts and some new character designs that are actually pretty cool. We've got some stickers that we've already been passing out. We've had great response. A few early versions have been sent out, but maybe just we can take a second and Joseph, you can kind of tell folks if they want to get some of this cool new swag, how they can do that.
Yeah. So we have a monthly content contest. It started out as a template contest because we had just released this feature to upload your own apps as a template to the community. And it's really cool that you can, build your own app and share it with the community. They can fork the app and be able to, build off of your work. But we've had some people ask about writing tutorials, or other types of content besides a template,
Right.
maybe a video. So we've opened up that contest to be any type of content. You can post a template, a tutorial, just a blog post, a video, whatever you want, anything that's Appsmith related. And then each month we have a topic. So this month, the topic is Supabase, and that can be just a tutorial or video, whatever you want to do. But we're actually giving away double the swag this month because Supabase pitched in. And so we'll be giving out 2 sets of swag for the winner this month. And then every month it's a different topic. So we did AI last month. This month it's Supabase. We're not announcing it until the end of the month, but we'll have a new topic next month. So yeah, if you're interested, just you can reach out on Discord for more info. There's also a post on the portal that talks about the monthly contest, and I updated that with the new, that we're taking any type of content. So
Nice.
yeah, excited to see what the community builds.
Well, I've been doing some informal testing of some of the designs and some of the like little catchphrases and stuff, and I actually have non-devs and non-Appsmith people that want to get it. So hopefully that'll be enticing. But yeah, keep your eyes open. We'll have some more stuff. We'll have some more stuff coming.
Cool.
Great.
Hey guys, before we jump to the next stuff, I wanted to let everybody know that actually Ron made a great feature on the community portal, which is kind of new. And we have like tagged page. So now you can go to specific tags and it has its own page where the content about that tag is grouped. And we have the AI specific community portal content in the community portal. By just scanning the QR code, you will go directly to the community portal and just see AI specific content we're creating. Joseph, Ron, and all the community who's going to start creating. Also, we have the community programs, which maybe we can touch base later on. Now
Mhm.
we have the creator program, and soon we're going to have the Appsmith expert program. So there's going to be a lot of content there. And Ron made this cool feature so anybody can just see specific content about any specific topic. So there you go. Anyone can go there and learn more about Appsmith AI. We'll make sure to push more content because also we have the playlist in our YouTube channel. There's a specific playlist just for Appsmith AI, and we're constantly pushing new videos to that playlist.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Actually, this morning I was talking to a few people internally about some of the design changes and changes to the portal that we've got. And the problem that we have is there's so much good stuff there, and how do we make it easy for people to find the stuff that they want to, that they care about? So the idea is, create the groups, create the tags, and make it easy for you guys to find what you need. Also, if there's specific things that you want to see more of, specific topics, or you want more tutorials or videos, whatever, definitely find us on Discord. Let us know, and we will definitely push some of that stuff to the top of the list and get you what you need. So don't be shy.
Yeah. And Joseph, I actually saw what Ron is going to be talking about next, which is reusability. And I have a question for you. And Ron is going to tell us as soon as we start with his content. But would you say that as you get more senior in the development role, will you write more lines of code or less lines of code? What will you say? Do you think you write more or less?
Yeah, if you're using something that you can build on, reusability, obviously you're going to be writing less. I try to approach everything that way. I'm writing a function and I could have been done 10 minutes ago, but I want to add all these parameters so I can, make it reusable and thinking of every possible use case, so don't want to duplicate the code. But you got to find a good balance. You can spend all day over engineering it and make it as reusable as possible, but there might be 20 different use cases there that you're never actually going to use. So yeah, I like to consider those and make it as reusable as possible, because we're building stuff to give to the community. A lot of times, it's not just my use case. I want somebody to copy it. So
yeah, exactly. So everyone in the chat, let us know, what do you think if as you start to get more senior or growing in your career, do you think you're writing more code or trying to reuse more of the stuff that you already did or the community did, or maybe an open source project? What do you guys think? But Ron, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be showcasing to us?
Sure. Yeah. So we continue to get lots of questions about reusability, and especially now that we're rolling out some commercial features like packages, and people are like, oh no, from the community perspective, does that mean I'm not going to get some of this stuff? Yes and no. There are some commercial features that are specifically designed for enterprise that the average developer probably doesn't really need. But there's also a lot of stuff we have today that people don't know about. And so what I wanted to do was kind of answer some of those questions and kind of highlight some of the things and tools that we have that enable you to reuse your code and share the work that you've done in across your projects and with other people in your team, and even with the wider community. So we've got a quick list. I tried to make it fast, but there's so much. We got a quick list of some of the stuff we have now, some of the stuff that's coming. And I can pretty much guarantee that most of the people will find at least one thing they didn't know about. So yeah, let's take a look.
All right.
Hey everybody. Today we're going to talk about reusability on the Appsmith platform. Now there's quite a bit to cover and we don't have a lot of time, so let's kind of jump right in. As we talk about this, we're going to break this up into a few different sections, different parts of the platform where you can achieve reusability and how you can do that. What you'll see is that some of these things you probably know, others you might not. So hopefully there's something for everybody. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to recognize one of the things that's very interesting about what happens as a developer becomes more experienced. One of the things that we see is we actually see fewer lines of code that are written as they become more experienced. Now, there's a number of reasons why this is. It can have a more strategic role, but often we learn that senior developers and more experienced developers write more elegant code, and they also are better at reusing the work that they've already done. So let's talk about that today and about how you can actually get more accomplished with less effort by reusing the work that you've already done on the Appsmith platform. As I mentioned, we're going to break this into a few different sections. First, we're going to talk about reusability at the app level. Then we're going to talk about reusability at the page and subpage level. We'll talk about how we can reuse widgets. We'll talk about how we can reuse JS and queries, and some things that are coming up, which you may have heard about, but we'll dig into a little bit more. To start with, let's take a look at app level reusability. Now, one of the big things that you'll know if you've used Appsmith for any amount of time is that you can actually clone an entire application. If you go up in any application to the top menu, you'll see that you have the ability to export an application. And this is going to export the entire application as a JSON file. However, it goes more. We get more from there. What you can also do is you can sync your Git repo to an application. So what this allows you to do is to add version control to any application that you have. And this can also allow you to more easily coordinate across your team. Multiple developers can connect to the same repo and push and pull changes across different branches, merging those branches and pulling work in and reusing it over and over again. So this is very much like what you'd expect to see in any normal developer workflow. What we can also do is make an application forkable. What this means is that anyone who has access to this application can actually go in and one-click clone the app and reuse and rebuild on top of it. This is the foundation for the entire template system that we have built in with all of the public templates that are available. But it also means that you can create private templates to make it easier for your team to start 80% of the way done. Finally, as I mentioned before, we can actually share templates out to the public. Now, this is great if you've got some work that you think could be useful for others, but also you can go and take a look at our community library and see if there's anything there that you want to pull in. Now, the great thing about it is it's very easy to fork an app, and then you can take a look and see how it was written. You can see what data sources are there, what widgets, how they were configured. And in fact, we find a lot of people actually really enjoy using templates as a way to explore and learn about how to use the platform to do different things. So if you have something worth sharing, go ahead and feel free to share it with the community. And if you're looking for things for inspiration and for different ideas, you can go check out the community library on our community portal, which is community.appsmith.com. So we've seen that app level reusability is baked right in. You've got turnkey apps and you've got some really high level starters. This means that you can move very quickly and you can start with a full-fledged application right out of the gate. But what happens when you want to go below the full app? Let's talk about that at the page and the sub-page level. So one of the things that people may know if they've used templates for a while is you actually have the ability to pull in pages from a specific template. So if you go and you add a new page, you'll have multiple options. One of those options is to add a page from a template. And there's a selection of templates there that have multiple pages, which are designed to allow you to pull in from one of those pages to start a new page in your application. This can be a great way to get going. However, there's another way that actually is a little bit more powerful, and I don't think very many people know about it. So you'll see I've notated here as one of the best kept secrets in Appsmith right now. And this is called partial import and export, or PI for short. What this allows you to do is instead of exporting the entire application or even an entire page, you can select just parts of a page to be exported. If you go to any page, click on the three buttons and choose Export, you'll get a window showing a collection of all of the different items on that page. JavaScript, widgets, queries, everything. And you can select which items that you want to export. Now, instead of exporting the entire application, this will just export a subset, which you can then pull into another page or another application. And as we'll see later, this is actually the foundation of the Building Blocks initiative, which is coming out very soon. If you haven't already tried this out, give it a shot. This is a really great way to take some of the work you've already got and reuse it quickly and easily. So we've seen how at the page and subpage level, We can have higher order bundles of configuration that we can pull in and that we can reuse. So let's talk about just widgets for a moment. And there's a couple of different ways that we can actually make use of widgets and reuse different widgets with their configuration across multiple pages and applications. So let's look at widget reusability. Now, one thing that's great, and a lot of people already probably know, is that you can actually just copy and paste widgets, either individual or collections of widgets. Now, you can do this by using the command keys, Control-C, Control-V. You'll also notice that when you select an item, there is a copy button that's available. One of the great things about this is that you can pull out individual widgets or nested widgets, which are going to be inside a container or a list or even a modal. So you can grab and pull out anything that you want, go to any other page in any other application, and you can paste. And that's a quick and easy way to pull things out and reuse them. Another thing that can make that even more powerful is the ability to group widgets together. So what you can do is simply highlight and select a group of widgets, and you'll get a little menu that pops up, as you can see here, allowing you to do things like copy, paste, delete, or you can group them together. What this will do is create a new container, putting all of those widgets inside the container, which you can then grab and copy that entire container with all of its subsets together. This goes along really well with the partial import export that we saw before, because when you select, you can select one container and everything inside of it will be grouped together for you. So as we've seen, there's a couple of different ways that you can reuse UI components and widgets across the entire platform, whether that's just using Control-C and Control-V, using the buttons to copy, or grouping things together to put them in a place where you need them. Now let's take a look at JavaScript and queries. Now, this may be a place where people are not familiar of a few little simple options that can make your life a lot easier. One of the first things that you'll see, if you take a look at any of your JavaScript or queries that are listed, there's a 3-dot menu. When you click on this, you'll see that you have the ability to copy or even move this particular item, whether it's JavaScript or a query, to a completely different page. Now, this is a really fast and easy way to make sure that you have information and code that is across multiple pages in an app. You can make sure that your queries are across multiple pages as well. So if you're creating a multi-page app and you've got some work that's already done and you need it on another page, only takes a moment and you can get it right over there. Now, sometimes you want it across multiple pages as well as across multiple applications. And this is a place where I would highly recommend considering building your own custom JavaScript library. Now, this is actually much simpler than it seems. We actually have a couple of articles and tutorials that are baked in the portal around this, but we have a full code repo that you can clone, which has some supporting information and tools there to allow you to do things like automatically generate the links and some documentation if you have the right comments. So take a look at the Foundry repo if you want more information. But at the very minimum, you can take anything that you have on GitHub and you can use JS Deliver to quickly allow you to grab and reuse that code across any of the applications that you use. The great thing about that is that once you've done that, you can actually go in and you can update that code and all of your applications will be updated as well. If you're looking at reusing JavaScript, which you probably should, you can use public and widely known libraries available or create your own. So as we've seen, there's a couple of interesting ways where you can share and reuse JavaScript and queries across the platform. Very easy, very fast. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Now, hopefully at this point, you've already seen a couple of things that maybe you haven't noticed before or you haven't discovered on your own, which are going to make your life easier. But let's talk about what's coming. And when I say coming, I mean now. Starting this spring and moving on through the summer, we're going to start to see a rollout of some different features that are available on the platform for reusability, primarily blocks and packages. So when we talk about building blocks, which is the first one, if you've created a new page or a new application recently, you've probably already seen the beginnings of building blocks. Building blocks are collections of widgets and sometimes JavaScript and queries as well, which are bundled together to make it easy for you to take larger, higher order components and put them on the page. So you can see here we have building blocks for everything basic from viewing and editing data to doing lookups and all kinds of other things as well. Now, this is based on the partial import-export feature that we saw earlier, and we're going to continue to double down and increase the capabilities for you to create and share your own building blocks. Now, this is really based on the community edition, so this will be available to all users. It's going to make it very fast and very easy to create and share your own higher order components, which is really exciting and something that the community has been looking for. All of the things that we've talked about so far with this reusability talk are things that anyone can use on the platform. But building blocks is really going to make it even faster and easier than ever before. Next, we have this concept of packages. Now, packages is a commercial feature that's going to be available in the paid edition. And as you can see here in an early version, we've already got some of this already working, and it's working really, really well. Now, this is similar to building blocks in that it allows you to create reusable queries, reusable JavaScript items, and soon it will allow you to have reusable blocks of widgets as well. And these packages are groups of these reusable items that are centrally managed, which are going to give you governance and standardization across your entire platform for your self-hosted instances. Now, the great thing about this is for commercial users who are looking for more governance across their whole organization, they'll be able to create, share, and distribute these reusable items privately inside their own instance of the platform. And so that way they can keep things secure, make sure that all the users are using the best things that they have available, and they're going to be following the same standards that they want to enforce inside their organization. As I mentioned, this is going to be a version, a part of the commercial version of the platform. But if you're interested and you want to test some of this stuff out and see what it looks like, reach out to us on Discord and we can see about getting you inside of a beta so that you can test this out. We'd love to put this in as many people's hands as possible and get some of your feedback so we can make it even better than before. So you can see how, even though we have a lot of reusability baked right into the platform, with blocks and packages, it's going to get even faster and even easier. I expect this year we're going to see a huge acceleration in your ability to create more advanced applications, as well as our ability as a community to share and explore and expand upon that across all of the users, across all of the instances that we have. So as we've gone through this, we've seen that we can do app level reusability, we have page and sub-page reusability, and we have widgets, JavaScript, and queries that you can reuse as well as some upcoming features which are going to make it even better. As you can see here, we have a direct link to a filtered view on the community portal with all of the content that we have about reusability. You can also use this QR code, which will take you straight there. If you keep an eye on this, new articles, videos, tutorials, and resources that pop up will be available here as well. So check back often and see what kind of new stuff we have. Hopefully, this has been a very quick but also very helpful view at reusability in Appsmith as of right now. As you've seen, we've got a lot of stuff on the works and we couldn't cover everything that's possibly coming, but hopefully this has given you a great insight into what we've got, what's coming, and how it can make your life easier and faster to build great applications for yourself and for your team.
Well, thank you so much, Ron. That was actually very impressive because you touch points on a lot of things that, as you mentioned at the beginning, some people might not know about it. And reusability is definitely key as you grow in your career and you're looking to have more stability in your code, being able to make changes faster. And now with reusable queries and reusable packages, that's probably going to be one of the most used features in the future. So thank you so much, Ron. Do you have anything else you want to share? I saw you put the QR code, but in case someone missed it, I'm going to put it right here while Ron tells a little bit more about it.
Yeah, thanks. And you know, this was anyone that knows me knows how strongly I feel about open source and about the community. And sometimes it can be really annoying, I think, because I'm always like yelling about how we need to stay true to our open source roots and take care of the community. Right. So there's been a lot of like concern from folks in the community about some of these commercial features like packages and thinking that we were somehow leaving out the community in the free edition from that. So I was just wanting to really kind of put some of that stuff together and make sure people know that, you know, no, we're not leaving anyone out. We always think about our community and there's so much stuff there. Again, hopefully at least one or two things people didn't know even existed today, never mind what's coming. But you'll see more about this stuff. We've actually got some interesting things that are happening, some discussions that are happening that can even change the roadmap even a little bit more in some really exciting ways and get things faster. I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't make those decisions. I'm not on the product team, but I'm loud and I'm not afraid of telling people what I think.
I know you can be loud.
Yeah, everyone, you guys are smiling because you know. Yeah.
Luckily, we're usually on your side.
Actually, let's get serious. Boom. You can be loud.
Wow. Be serious.
All right, Joseph, I know you're up next, and let us know what you're going to talk about.
All right. Yeah, I got a video prepared that is just a bunch of different things about working with files and data, like capturing them from different widgets, whether it's a camera or video or a text file, pulling them from a database or an API, transforming files. So all kinds of stuff about files and data. And then a little extra treat on top of that is you get to see my amazing video editing skills. So some probably terrible transitions and cuts there. It was way longer than I had time for, and I trimmed it down as best as I could. So maybe a little choppy on the editing, but it's some good content.
I know it's going to be good content as usual from you. So let's get the ball rolling and learn about managing files and data in Appsmith.
Let's do it.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Joseph with Appsmith, and in this video, we're going to work with files and data in Appsmith. So there are a ton of different ways that you can capture a file or data. There's the file picker to upload a file, a camera widget, audio recorder. You could get a file or the data from an API or database query. You could even have the user create a file on the fly by taking a text input, capturing that and turning it into a text file or an HTML file. So there's just a ton of different ways that you can interact with data, display it, capture it, transform it, convert formats. We're going to look at how to do that stuff today and all the different widgets that interact with data. And it's going to involve a lot of discussion around base64 strings, binary, blobs, data URLs. So if you're not familiar with any of that stuff, we're not going to get too much into explaining what that is. We're going to be using those in this video. So if you're not familiar with base64 strings or binary or blobs, check out this post on the community portal. I posted this ahead of time for anyone that needs a little extra context on this stuff. So again, we're just going to skip past really going into the explanation on those, and we'll be using data URLs and base64 strings here. So with that, all right. So there are tons of different ways to display images. The main way is that you use an image widget with a URL to the image. So let's check that out. The standard approach here is that you just put in a URL, and there's also this default image property so that if your image is not there, if this is dynamic but this row is empty, then you can have this fallback image. And you can supply this one yourself as well. This could be a placeholder that gives the user a message when there's no other image there. So the normal method is that you would put a URL here, but you can also put a base64 string there. You see the placeholder here. It's showing that you can also use base64, but you can't put just the base64 string. You have to tell the browser that this is a data URL and that it is a certain format. It's going to look like this: data : and then the file type base64 comma, and then that base64 string, which I have right here. So you can see that this image is being displayed by just putting this prefix here of saying that, hey, here's some data, it's base64, and then you put that string, and this entire string here, this base64 string, can be converted back to the image. So we'll look at is using a text widget to display an image. So the text widget displays some HTML tags, not all of them, but you can use a image tag and then put in the URL there. And then you can include other HTML elements within the same text widget. So just putting a single image tag, maybe not the best approach. There's not really an advantage there over the image widget. But if you're trying to put, say, a header and some text and an image and have some kind of styling or border on all of it, and you can do a little bit more this way than you can trying to combine a bunch of those widgets. This will put it all in one widget. So just a different approach. SVG in an iframe. Again, it's just the the hard-coded text, and then you can make parts of it dynamic if you want. So you could pass in something that changes the color or the size or which icon that you're using, and that could be controlled at a row level in a table. There's lots of things you could do with it. Next, we'll look at a container. So with a container, you can supply a background image, and this is using the background CSS property. So this container, if you look at the style, I've set the color to JS. So instead of picking a color, I just type whatever, and then background CSS properties work here. If it's an attribute that the background would have for CSS, then things like size, repeat, those attributes work here. In this case, I'm using a URL. And then here in this container, to copy, I have data URL in the same format. So it's still URL parentheses, and then in quotes, you put a valid URL, which can be a data URL. So here I've got image one that is an SVG, but for this to work in a URL field in place of a URL, it has to be URL encoded. So this is not, and the last example here I want to show is a PDF. So here we're using the document viewer to display this PDF from a URL. And then in this one, I have the exact same document, but I'm displaying the data. So the data is coming from an API, and I'm using the same prefix with the correct file type, but it's still the data : file type base64, and then follow that up with the base64 string. However, in this case, this get pdf.data, this is getting my data from an API over here. So get PDF, this is going to return the binary version of the file, and it's not going to work in a URL if we put that same prefix in front of it. So this binary data needs converted. It's a little slow loading the whole thing this way. There's the PDF file. You can see it's got some non-ASCII characters, so it's not, or alphanumeric rather. So base64 encoding can only support certain characters, and this is binary. So I'm going to refresh to get that out of the cache here, because that it's kind of a big file. It slows things down, especially while I'm streaming. So to display that base64 file, or rather to display the binary file in base64, we have to convert it. And I'm using the JavaScript function B2A. So this is not an Appsmith specific thing. It's just a JavaScript function to convert the binary to base64. And you can also use A2B to go the other way. So this same file displayed as data. Now, that's displaying data. So now let's look at a few of our options here for capturing. I'm going to put, so this image widget is displaying the data coming from this file picker. And you can see it's referencing file picker 1.files0. The file picker supports multiple files. Even if you set the max to 1, it's always going to be an array. And so your first file is the 0 index here .data. .data is the image itself, and the file picker knows the data type. You've given it a file that has metadata, it has a name and extension, and so it knows how to add on this prefix for you. Whereas in the last example, we had only the base64 string, and we had to construct that and add this at the beginning. So when it comes from the file picker, you just use .data, and it will have that format. Next, in this file picker, I'm using the data format array of objects. And this allows you to upload a CSV, Excel file, JSON, tab separated values, and it will parse that out, and it'll instantly display in the table widget. You don't have to do anything else. This table widget is just looking at file picker 2, files, first file, and then .data, and I don't have to convert anything. However, if we uploaded this as a binary or base64, it wouldn't directly display in the table widget, but it would be ready to send to your API. So if your API requires it as base64, binary, or text for CSV maybe, you can set the file picker to capture it in whatever format so that you can access it and send it wherever you need in that format. So next we'll look at the camera. Let's see. Here we go. Take a quick picture. And if you look at the data coming from this camera widget, so in this text widget, I'm going to reference and look at the data right here. So we have camera 1, and inside of that, there's all of these different properties. You can see the, what setting it's on, if we're using the front or the rear camera. There's just a bunch of different properties here. What we really want, though, is these 6 here. There's 2 sets. So with the camera, you can capture an image or a video, and with each one of those, you have the option to get it as the blob URL data. So let's look at the data one here. And this is saying that there is a blob with this ID of base64, and it resolves to that image. So you can reference this, and it looks like just a short string, but it's really the whole image. Same thing with the other formats there. So wherever you're sending it, you should have the right type. Code scanner would be the same thing, so I won't walk through that. So next we're going to look at, instead of capturing, how you can actually create files. Now, in this example, I'm taking an input from the user, and I want to download it as a text file. We have this download function native to Appsmith, and I don't think you can see this dialog popping up, but it's asking me to save a file right now. So this prompt here, it asked me to download because the on-click action is using Appsmith's download action. And this makes it really easy to create a file with just the data. Okay, you put the data that you want downloaded here, give it a name, and then you can optionally select the file type. It's not required. It does help ensure that it's the right data that you're passing here for this extension. You don't want to tell them it's a text file, but then give them a Excel or something. So anyway, it's not required, but you really just need the data itself and then give it a name. And this could be dynamic or hard-coded. I'm able to take this raw text here and create a text file. And the exact same approach works here with a rich text editor, and then this download button will download a HTML file. And so that's another one of the options here on the type. Again, it's optional, but it will help in ensuring that your data is valid here, and we do support HTML as a type there. So you can pass in the text coming from the rich text editor, and that gets turned into an HTML file. You can see the evaluated value. It's pretty small there, but it shows the tags. And so it gets saved as HTML, even though the user is seeing it as rich text here. All right, next example is we have an array of JSON data here, and we want to convert it to a CSV. If the user wants to download it to their drive, that's easy. The table widget has a download button. They can just take the incoming JSON and convert it. The table widget will convert for them. This is built in, and the user can download a CSV or Excel file. But what if you're using a list widget and you want to download it? Or what if you want to send that file somewhere else instead of the user's device, right? So to get it to a CSV to download when the source data is coming from JSON, from a JSON array, that's what we're going to look at next. So first I have to flatten the data because it's coming back nested. There's a lot of properties that are nested here on the users, their name and address and everything. Location here is an object. So everything's really nested. And to convert it to a CSV, you want to flatten it out first. You could try to combine those two things and do it in one and make it all dynamic. But to keep it simple here, I'm just picking out the first and last name, email, and country. So now it's a flat array. And once you've got your data in a flat format ready to be converted to a CSV, then you want to use Papa Parse Library. This is a suggested library in Appsmith. It's not pre-installed, but it is in the suggested list of libraries here. And I've already installed it. You just click the install button and you'll be able to use it. So the function to actually convert it is to unparse, because papa.parse would take it the other direction, take a CSV and turn it into JSON. So we want to go the other direction. And I am feeding it the output of this function. So I flatten the data first. It's still JSON, and then this turns it into a CSV. Now I've got one header and all the rows of data as opposed to a bunch of key value pairs. So now this is ready for the user to download it as a CSV, or it could be the body of a file that you're going to send to an API. And the last example here is creating files from a external capture. So we looked at a little bit of this already, but I want to load this up and show one more thing. Let's put a file in here. So I'm putting in a JSON file that's actually from another app. And now that there's a file loaded into this file picker, let's look at the data that's in there and the whole file object actually. So that is file picker 1.files 0. And then we'll check out this evaluated value. So this is an object. The file that's in there, it's an object with a type, an ID, a data property, and then here's that string, data colon application, whatever. So if you only have the data, but you want to send it somewhere that requires a full file, you can create a file by just copying this, put a similar file that you want. If it's an image, PNG, or a text file or whatever it is, load up a similar file into the file picker widget, copy this and paste it into your API body, and then just make this part dynamic here for the data. I think you can get rid of the ID. You can make the metadata bound to whatever input you want, like maybe the user gets to name the file or it comes from something else in the API. So if you only have the raw data part, it's like from a capture camera widget or whatever, and it's not a full file. Some APIs, you want to store it as a file as opposed to just the data. So I think that covers all the different cases, the different types of widgets that interact, capture, display data, transforming, and there's just a ton of different approaches, especially with images. So, get creative, see what works for you. There's definitely more than one way to do things and more than one library to convert, and just tons of options. So this has been a quick primer on working with files and data in Appsmith. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and do check out that post on the community portal that goes more in depth on base64, binary, and blobs. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
Well, that was great, Joseph. Thank you so much. And don't worry about the edits. I think it was perfect. The video was just perfect. Yeah, I can say that what you said at the end is perfect, which is there's multiple ways to do things in Appsmith, and the fact that we support most of the libraries out there is amazing. The fact that you can manage base64 files out of the box with Appsmith is so simple. Like we saw in the Appsmith AI example as well, that I could pass just the base64 to Appsmith AI to analyze an image and get image classification out of the base64. So definitely being able to use base64 and Appsmith in any of the different file formats that you can use, like the camera widget, like uploading a file, etc. It's definitely a lot of ways that people can use that in their internal tools. So thank you so much for your session, and for everyone who's looking for more things about managing files in Appsmith, because that's one of the most requested question from the community. How can they upload images to Amazon S3 or to Google Cloud Buckets, etc.? There is a category in the community portal only focused on file management. Everything related to file management, it's there. So make sure to scan the QR code and you will see a lot of information related to this specific topic. As any of the other topics we have seen in the Appsmith build, you will be able to now easily find any of those topics in the community portal, and make sure to read everything and learn more about Appsmith. So with that said, I think we're coming to the last session of the day. And Ron, can you explain a little bit about what the audience is going to be able to see now?
Sure, absolutely. So we actually have one of our solutions engineers, Tom. Some of you may have spoken with Tom before. He's often really helpful and gets on sales calls. He's also one of our kind of internal ops people. That's not his official job, but around here, everybody does everything. And so one of the things Tom has really become an expert in is in using in building apps and things on top of like Salesforce. So Salesforce is a great tool. A lot of people use it, but it can get really expensive, especially when you have to buy a license for every single person that needs to access the data, even if they're not going to change anything, even if you don't want them to change anything. So what Tom has helped us do is actually create some internal tools and dashboards that make it possible for people that aren't directly involved in Salesforce to be able to get information out, to combine that information with other tools like with Zendesk or with some of our other user data, so that we can kind of get a full 360 view of the customer for support, for marketing, for sales, for leadership, for DevRel. Like, it's really helpful. So Tom actually put together a really cool little session talking about what that looks like, some of the considerations, and how you actually go about the process of building a Salesforce application on Appsmith.
In this fast-paced world of business, time is currency, and insights are invaluable. Now picture a world where your Salesforce data comes alive, empowering your workflows with actionable insights and limitless innovation. Hey everyone, my name is Tom Jones, and I work as a Senior Solutions Engineer at Appsmith. Today, I'm thrilled to guide you through the exciting journey of integrating Salesforce with Appsmith. And together, we'll explore how this powerful combination can transform the way you interact with your data and build dynamic applications. Now, as developers, we are always on the lookout for inventive ways to streamline processes and unlock the full potential of a tech stack. Meet Appsmith, driving innovation, and Salesforce, the cornerstone of all CRMs. Together, they merge the simplicity of low-code development with Salesforce's robust data ecosystem. So, fasten your seatbelt, and together, let's redefine the boundaries of enterprise application. Now, our agenda for today's demo is structured to give you guys an understanding of the following steps. Step 1. How to create a connected app on Salesforce to allow you to integrate Salesforce with any external web application or tools. Step 2. How to integrate the same Salesforce as a data source in Appsmith. Step 3. How to connect the data source to the widgets using API and data bindings. And finally, Step 4. How to create an application where you can not only view and update data to Salesforce, but also create dashboards on top of the data with the help of charts and showcase different other metrics. Now let's get started. I'm going to head over to the Salesforce website of mine, and as you can see, I have some opportunities already up and about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top right corner and click on this icon and head to the setup page of Salesforce. Here on the left side, I have something called the platform tools, under which I have apps, and I'm going to click on the app manager. On clicking the app manager, you can see that here is where you can go ahead and click on a new connected app. I have already created an app called the Appsmith Salesforce, and it's of the type connected. When you click on a new connected app, it takes you to a page like this, where you need to fill in details like the connected app name, contact, email, etc. And then you need to enable something called the OAuth settings, because that's how we're going to be connecting Salesforce to our Appsmith app. Also, we have a callback URL field here. For now, I've given it the value as app.appsmith.com/this current path. This will, in your case, it will be replaced by the domain name of your Appsmith instance, but the remaining path name remains the same. Also, I'll show you later where you can copy this value from. Next, we have to select the OAuth scopes that is required for us to have a secure connection with Salesforce. So those are the OpenID, the API scope, and the refresh token and offline access scopes. Once that is added, as you can see here, you can go ahead and enable these two checkboxes. One is to enable the client credentials flow, and the other is to enable the authorization code and the credentials flow. This too is required because that's how Appsmith is going to be connecting to your Salesforce connected app. And finally, we need to enable the refresh token rotation because we need to allow the external app to be able to call the refresh token API whenever the previous or existing access token gets expired. Once all this is done, you can go ahead and click on Save. After clicking Save, you will see that you will be going to the view mode of your connected app, and here there's something called the Manage Consumer Details. On clicking that, you will be taken to another page where you'll be shown the consumer key and the consumer secret. Note this down or keep it in the background because we would need it later to create our data source on Appsmith. Speaking of that, let's go to the second step, that is creating the data source on Appsmith. So here I'm heading to my Appsmith homepage where I have a workspace called Salesforce Apps, under which I have an existing app called Salesforce. I'm just going to click on Edit. Here on the left side, I'm going to click on Data, and I have a dummy data source already created, but I haven't configured anything. I thought let's do that together. So I'm going to click on Edit here, and as you can see, the URL is the same URL as your Salesforce domain, and the authentication type, we need to choose the OAuth 2.2. Once that is selected, you need to enable the grant type as authorization code because you have enabled for it, and the remaining looks good to go. And then we need to pass in the access token URL. I'll just copy paste that from the documentation. Similarly, the client ID, this value we had kept it here, and just copy that and paste here. Similarly, we have the client secret. I'm just copying this and pasting it here as well. And then we have the scopes which we had enabled or added earlier in the configuration. I'm just mentioning that as well. It's refresh underscore token, open ID, offline underscore access, and API. Next, we need to also mention the authorization URL, which again can be found on how to get that from our Salesforce documentations. And this is how the value would look like, both in the case of the access token and authorization URL. The path name remains the same, and only the domain is part of how your Salesforce domain looks like. Then you can see we have something called the redirect URL. This is where you would get that value where I had earlier copied, and that is the callback URL. So now you know where I had got that value earlier from, and you can always copy it from here. And finally, we have to mention the authorization expires in time, because this lets the app know when to trigger the refresh token API, assuming the access token has expired. So in my case, I'm going to be giving around 6,000 seconds. Okay, and I'm good to go with that. Yes, yeah. This is around 10 minutes. And I'm just going to click on save and authorize. And now the app is connecting with the Salesforce and verifying that my client key and client credentials was correct, and the remaining configuration was correct as well. And you can see it was successful. That's great. Save. So now I'm going to head back to the editor and go to a new page. And here I'm going to be introducing a new query or an API on top of my Salesforce data source. I'm going to call this get opportunities. And let me just copy the API path name here. This is basically a SOPL or a Salesforce query, and it's going to retrieve my ID, account ID, name, etc. from the opportunity table. And I'm going to click on run to see if it's working. And yes, it has. So you can see all the records have been showing up here. Now I'll just go to the UI and introduce a table here and connect it to my get opportunities data. And as you can see, my data is appearing in a table format. Now I have some columns which have come up which I don't need to show to the end user. It's only for me in the development mode. So I'll just go here on the side and you can see the column list. I'm gonna go and hide this. And all you can see is the rest of the details like the name, stage name, owner, amount, etc. I'm also gonna do is introduce an icon button here. and change it to make it look like a refresh button. And on click, I'm going to execute a query that is the get opportunities API which I just created. And now whenever I click on refresh, the API is triggered again and my table refreshes. Next, I'm going to go to another page. And here I have my table and the button already connected to the get opportunities API. But I also have two other APIs, that is the get accounts and the get users API. So what I'm going to do is, you can see that I have in the table account ID and owner ID. And what I want to do is change this to show the actual name and not just the ID. So the first thing I'm going to do is change this column name to owner name. And as you can see, it's live reflected. And now I'm going to go and search within my getUsers.data.records to find for that particular object whose item ID is equal to this current row's owner ID, and bring out the first name. And let's see if it works. I'm just going to run this API. And you can see the owner name and it has started showing instead of the owner ID. You can do the same for the account ID as well. Next, I'm going to head over to another page where I have a form already created, and it has some input fields and select widgets which you can choose from, right? It's all connected to what the selected row is from this table. So if I change to another row, it's reflected here. So if I click on something like the Edge SLA, you can see the details here. Now, I've already pre-connected the update opportunity API. It's actually a batch operation, and you can also see that in the path name, the opportunity ID will be mentioned. You can refer it as opportunitiestable.selectedrow.id. So now I'm going to head back to the UI, and I see some of the details like I'm just want to change some details like the amount. I'm going to make it like something like 200. And I'm going to update this. And as you can see, it's going to update because within the action selector, I have connected it to the update opportunity. And on the success, you can configure it to run the refresh API, or that's the get opportunities API again, so that you start seeing the new details. So now you can see that the Edge SLA is now reflecting to show 200,000. Great. So that's how you can connect your table to a form widget having input and select options, etc. And how you can connect your button to the update operation so that whenever you update, it gets reflected onto Salesforce. And when it is successful, you are running the get opportunities API to refresh your table. Next, I'm going to head over to the last page, that is the dashboard. Here, you can see that I have a tab widget, right, which shows two tabs. One is the sales overview and the other is the opportunity manager. Now inside the sales overview, I have created some widgets. So this way I've been able to create some metrics on top of my Salesforce data, along with showing some charts to reflect the same. So that's how you can create a dashboard that shows the overview of your Salesforce data on Appsmith using charts and other widgets, and also how you can do CRUD operations on top of your Salesforce data, like viewing and updating the opportunities. Now let's click on deploy. And voila, you have successfully created an app that's ready for your internal use or customers. Now expanding on what we have just created, let's uncover the other possibilities that arise for integrating Salesforce with your Appsmith app. First, we can visualize dependencies. Product managers in your organization can easily see feature dependencies that is crucial for winning certain deals or opportunities. Second, streamline access. Access Salesforce objects like tasks and activities of your sales people to view conversations for better insights. efficient case management. Now you can also view and update account level Salesforce cases swiftly without needing to go to the Salesforce website, and this can help in improving customer service. Next, we can allow precise user control. What that means is that you can grant users, like your product or marketing teams, specific permissions to update relevant Salesforce objects such as opportunities, accounts, etc., offering unparalleled flexibility as compared to the traditional Salesforce tools. Next, I'm going to be talking about unified data view, which is basically allowing you to integrate various other data sources to create a comprehensive customer 360 view, as I'm showing here. So here you can see I have some of my Salesforce opportunities, and you can see that I can see the usage summary, the license subscription, the account activity, and the support issues. So this way, I can see a lot of data across various other platforms, including Salesforce and my in-house data within one single app, which I'm now calling it as my Customer 360 app. And the last advantage Salesforce integration brings to your organization is being cost effective. You can finally save on additional Salesforce seats by leveraging Appsmith for data viewing and updates, hence maximizing efficiency while minimizing the expenses. So as we conclude, remember that the possibilities are limitless with Appsmith. So as you continue your journey, embrace the power of integration, creativity, and efficiency. Thank you for joining me today, and remember, the future of your applications is brighter than ever with CRM platforms like Salesforce and a low-code tool that is Appsmith by your side. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone.
Hey, awesome stuff from Tom.
Yeah.
I love how we're kind of throwing stuff up and being devs, and he's like being very professional and all of that. You can tell, man. Tom's awesome, and I think one of the things I think a lot of people miss out on, I know that I do myself, is I'm always so focused on like the fun parts, the interesting parts of what we can do and the problems we can solve. But I think it may not be quite as fun, but it is, I think, really important to keep in mind that Appsmith is here to solve actual real business problems and can drive actual real value to all kinds of organizations. And, just being able to take your data and make it accessible to other people in a safe way inside your organization and not have to spend an arm and a leg on a bunch of extra licenses you don't need. I mean, that can more than pay for a commercial license for Appsmith when people use it properly. But hopefully that's interesting and helpful. I know we're going to get some usage out of that we do hear that use case often. So I'm excited to be able to share that with people. But as we're closing out today, maybe on the way out the door, Joseph, can you just kind of remind everybody about what's going on and how they can get some of these cool shirts and some of the cool swag we got kicking?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I think this is a good time to mention our new community leader. So we have just announced our first community leader, Sanjeev. He's from Sanjeev Robotics Studio. He's been in the community since like the beginning. I checked Discord. He's been like a member for over 3 years. I think just as long as me. So he is our first community leader. We are still accepting applications for other leaders, and there's a bunch of new roles coming out. We're working on a few new things that are focused towards freelancers and experts. We're also going to have some stuff for the beta program. So there's several new roles that are coming out. Right now, it's just the community leader. That's one way you can engage with the team. And we're sending out some swag for Sanjeev just to say thanks. There's also the monthly contest. So it is a monthly content contest now. It started as just templates, but you can submit a template, a blog post, a video, whatever you're interested in. This month's topic is Supabase, and every month we have a new topic. So there's about 10 days left. If you've got anything you want to share, it could be just a tutorial if you don't want to do the template, but we're sending out swag for that every month. And this month, Supabase pitched in, so we're doing double the swag. So lots of different ways you could win something there.
Nice. That's awesome. So yeah, everybody definitely keep an eye on the portal. Joseph's really good about announcing what some of these things are and giving you insight. And as always, jump into Discord and ask us questions. But Kevin, what do you think? Anything before we leave that we need to make sure we get covered today?
No, I mean, first of all, we all love swag, so make sure to. I mean, I would love to participate because I was looking at the Super Base swag and I was like, oh man, that
Yeah,
hat and that sweater and everything is looking really nice, but unfortunately, I can't participate. So good luck to everyone who's participating because we have double swag with Superbase and Appsmith. So yeah, that's gonna be real nice. And the best thing about Appsmith is actually the community. So that's the reason why. Please let us know on the chat, on Discord, on the community portal, what type of topics would you like to see? Because obviously we understand what type of things we think you want to see, but we'll always love to hear what type of content do you need. And actually on Discord, I've got several community members telling me, hey, can you create a video about custom widgets on how to integrate X, Y, and Z? And I have some on the pipeline coming up from requests from the community. So make sure that, reach out to us. We don't bite. We're super cool. I mean, Ron can get hype sometimes, but he's super friendly. So definitely let us know in the chat and on Discord. And as usual, as I'm telling you, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which just bypassed 6K subscribers, which is great.
Nice.
And the amount of videos over there is just continuously growing. Hey, we're just creating content so you can learn Appsmith. That's our job. So definitely having a team behind the scenes working for you so you can continue growing, that's definitely one of the key values of Appsmith versus many other platforms out there. So I think that with that said, if you subscribed already, if you joined our Discord already, if you already created your account in the community portal, I think our job is done here, guys.
Somebody just joined the portal, and it is our 800th user. Like we just hit 800 today. I checked yesterday, and we were almost there. So I don't know if it was during the event today, but our 800th user just joined. I'm going to check out who it is and send him some swag. So anybody that's interested, here, hopefully in another month or two, we'll be hitting 1,000, and we'll have to do something special for that too. But yeah, I think the event here triggered somebody, and we just hit 800 today.
So awesome. we're gonna have to start calling Joseph the swag master.
Yeah. You don't know what type of criteria Joseph is going to use, but sometimes he's like, oh man, this person just did X, Y, or Z. Let's send him some swag.
Yeah.
So
yeah, actually that does happen.
That's pretty much what we do. And if you see somebody in Discord that's helping out, I'll send out just to thank somebody for like helping other users. So if you see somebody doing that stuff, like give me a heads up. I'm in there a lot. I'll probably see it. But if somebody else answers your question instead of support, I want to thank them. I'm going to send them a shirt and hat, hoodie, whatever. So yeah, give us a heads up when that stuff happens.
Yeah, awesome. So I think we can cut it here. Thank you so much, everyone who joined. Thank you, Joseph, Ron, and we'll see you next week. And as usually on every week on any live stream or video. So we'll see each other soon again. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.